Hello student, welcome to the class. Today I will be discussing weather, climate and adaptation. That is your chapter number 13. Chapter number 13 is weather, climate and adaptation. So weather. Weather means the short time atmospheric conditions. Okay, so today's weather, what is today's weather? It may be a 25 degrees Celsius or 32 degrees Celsius. Okay, it is having a maximum and minimum weather conditions. Okay, climate is a long term conditions, like suppose we are expecting in the month of July, in the month of August we are expecting rain. Okay, so rainfall, so how long it will stay we don't know. Okay, so that is a long term, maybe 2 days, maybe 3 days, maybe a month. Okay, so that is a long term conditions. Okay, so that is a climate. And adaptation means we are making ourselves to suit in a particular environment. Okay, we are adjusting ourselves, okay, according to our surroundings. So all related to weather, climate and adaptation we are going to see in this chapter. So weather influences our lives in many ways. Okay, so weather influences, that is a short atmospheric condition. Weather is a short atmospheric condition. It influences our lives in many ways. Okay, suppose we are planning for an outing today, okay, and suddenly it starts raining. Okay, so we could not go outside. Okay, so that influences. Okay, suppose today is I am feeling rainy, I mean the weather is like very cold weather. Okay, suddenly the sun rises. Okay, the sun gets warmed. Okay, the sun rays becomes very heat. Okay, so we are unable to go outside. Okay, so weather influences our lives in many ways. For example, if you are planning to go for a picnic, you will surely not want it to rain. So obviously if we want to go for a picnic, we don't want any rain, we want a dry climate. Okay, dry weather. Okay, so on the other hand, you may look forward to rain on a hot summer afternoon, on the summer seasons. Okay, we look for a rain. Okay, we look for a rain to soothen up ourselves. Okay, a farmer prays for a rain when his crops are about to flower, but not when a grain is ripening. So farmer prays for a rain. Okay, so crops about to flower, farmers pray for a rain when crops about to flower, and it prays not to rain when he is harvesting, when farmer is harvesting. Okay, so at that time when the fruit when the fruit gets ripened. Okay, so at that time when it is when the farmer is about to harvest. Okay, so at that time the farmer prays not to rain. So in many kinds, in many ways, weather influences our lives. It stops our picnic by raining. Obviously we don't want to go outside of our home. Okay, so when it rains, okay, suppose we are planning for a picnic today and unable to go because of sudden rainfall. Okay, so that is a short atmospheric condition is said to be as weather. Okay, so now the weather of a place in a particular day comprises atmospheric conditions. In that places on that day, these conditions include temperature, rainfall and the speed of the wind. Okay, short atmospheric condition influences rainfall, speed of a wind and temperature. Okay, normally weather conditions we can find in the newspaper, TV channels, TV news. Maximum and minimum weather conditions we can find. Suppose 32 days, maximum temperature is 32 degrees Celsius, and you can find minimum is maybe a 28 degrees Celsius or 28 degree so 28 or 27, like that minimum. It differs day to day, the weather condition differs. Okay, day to day. So now maximum and minimum temperature. So you may have noticed that early morning are quite pleasant. Okay, and quite cool in the summer days also. Okay, why it is quite cool and why it is quite pleasant? We feel very nice at early morning. We feel very nice climate. Okay, so very nice weather. Okay, why it is? Because the slanting sun rays, okay, the sun rays falls in a slanting ways, that is bent ways. Okay, so it doesn't fall directly on the earth. Okay, so when the sun rays fall falls directly on the earth, at that time only our earth gets heated, our land gets heated, the sand get heated, and then the heat is getting reflected against. Okay, so at that time we feel very warm. Okay, at the morning time what happens, the slanting sun rays falls on the land. Okay, the slanting sun rays doesn't cause that much of warm. Okay, so that is one of the reason. And the mid of the afternoon we find very warm. Okay, so we became very restless. Okay, because of the warmth of the day. Okay, because the sun rays goes directly on the land. Okay, very straight, in a straight way. So maximum temperature has been recorded at that point, and the minimum temperature has been recorded where the where the coolness is there at the morning time or the sunset. What happens at that after the sunset? After the sunset, the weather also gets a little bit lower compared to the mid of the day. Okay, so whether in the mid of the day the sun rays falls directly in a straight way. Okay, so that is the reason the mid of the day we got more warm. Okay, more hotness compared to the morning and the night. So the maximum and minimum temperature are recorded with the help of a maximum and minimum thermometer. There is a thermometer, maximum and minimum thermometer. Okay, so the maximum and minimum temperature has been recorded through this thermometer. It consists of a U-shaped tube with bulbs at the top of each arm. The maximum and minimum thermometer contains a U-shaped tube. Okay, so the bulbs at the top of each arm. So U-shaped tube is containing have bulb. Okay, so at the each arms, both of the arms, one arm records the maximum temperature and the other arm records the minimum temperature. Steel marker and the two arms are pushed by mercury as it moves in the tube. So steel marker is there. Okay, so it is pushed by, it will be pushed by the mercury when the temperature changes. Okay, so when the tube moves, when the mercury changes its direction, it leaves the steel markers behind. When the mercury changes its direction, the steel marker remains in the behind. Okay, this is how the temperature can be recorded. So this is the way. In a U-tube maximum and minimum thermometer, there is a U-tube bulb. Okay, so there will be a steel marker, and through this, when the mercury changes, okay, when the temperature changes, the steel marker moves. So this is how the maximum and the minimum temperature recorded. The average temperature is calculated. The average temperature can be calculated over 30 or more years. The same goes for a minimum temperature also. Usually when the maximum or minimum temperature is much higher or lower than the average value, we say the place is having exceptionally hot summer or cold winter. So what happens when the maximum and minimum temperature is much higher or lower, that is average value. Okay, at that time we say that the particular place is having a exceptional hot, okay, summer or a cold winter. The maximum and minimum temperature in a city are generally higher than those of the surroundings rural areas. So the temperature, okay, the maximum and minimum temperature is very much quite higher compared to the quite higher in the cities, okay, in the urban areas compared to the rural areas, because cities have concrete floors, okay, and the buildings, okay, which absorbs the heat, okay, and it reflects the heats. Okay, in the rural areas we don't find an concrete floor or a big buildings, and the rural areas you find lots of trees are there. Okay, so in a cool climate is there. Okay, compared to cities we are having a buildings, okay, huge buildings are there, trees, plants are not there, not proper plants are there. Okay, so in a huge number of buildings will be there, and in between one or two tree or maybe a few trees are there. But in village areas it is not like that. You can find many trees around, and there is no big buildings which absorbs the heat and reflects it back. Okay, so that is the reason while air flows their village areas are having, rural areas are having spaces, free space, air can move past. Okay, we get the cool breeze and all these things. Okay, compared to the city. Okay, since in the winter seasons also you can see village areas are much cooler than the cities. Okay, so that is because of the building, that is because of the tree, lesser number of trees, more number of buildings, concrete buildings, which absorbs the heat and reflects back the heat. Okay, compared to the rural areas. Now humidity. Humidity means the dampness of the air. Okay, so the air has the capacity to hold certain amount of water. Okay, so the dampness of the air, the wetness of the air is said to be as humidity. So humidity, when its amount of water is present in it, the air is said to be saturated. So the air contains certain amount of, the air has the capability to hold certain amount of water. Okay, so water vapors, so that air is said to be unsaturated. The capacity of the air to hold water vapor increases with temperature. The holding capacity of a air for water increases with the temperature. Relative humidity is the amount of water vapor present in the air expressed as a percentage of maximum amount of water vapor. So what is relative humidity? Relative humidity is the amount of water vapor which is present in the air and which is expressed in a percentage of maximum amount of water vapor. It can hold that percentage. The relative humidity of air does not remain constant over day. So relative humidity does not remain constant over day. Okay, so suppose the relative humidity of today morning, example I am taking, like 32 or whatever, 32, you can say 90, 93. Okay, so at the afternoon session it may increase. Okay, so the relative humidity is not same throughout that throughout the day. It fluctuates. Okay, it changes by time, by temperature. Okay, so changes by temperature. Rain and snow. One of the things that determines the change of rainfall in the humidity of the air. Rain and snow determines, that is one of the things which determines the rainfall in the humidity of the air. With the air it close to being saturated and the temperature suddenly falls. So at that time what happens? The temperature gets suddenly falls and some of the water vapor in the air condenses. So some of the water vapor air condenses. Okay, so condenses means a change of gaseous into a liquid form. Okay, so that is condenses, means coming frozening up. Okay, so change of water vapor into a liquid state. Okay, clouds form when condenses take place in high above the ground, and when the droplets join together and become heavy, they come down as rainfall. So how do the clouds form? Okay, so when the water vapor evaporates, when the water evaporates from the atmosphere, from the land, okay, so it goes and condenses. Okay, on the top it goes, condenses, and the cloud is formed. Okay, so when the cloud, when the droplets join together and become very heavy. Okay, so the water which have been which has evaporated from the land and condensed on uppermost layer of the atmosphere, at that time what happens? The water droplets becomes heavy. Okay, so because of that heaviness it cannot stay on the top, again it falls down. So, okay, again through forming as a rain, it drop by drop it falls on the earth. Okay, comes down as a rainfall. When the temperature is very low, the droplets is a cloud freeze into crystals of ice and there is a snowfall. Have you got snowfall? Have you heard about the snow rain? Snow rain, instead of rain, instead of water droplets falling, snows will be falling. Okay, at that time what happens? The clouds. Okay, so the water vapor which has evaporated to the upper layer of the atmosphere got condensed on the cloud. It gets freezed. Okay, it becomes very much colder. At that time what happens? Instead of a raindrop it falls as a snow. Okay, that is a snowfall. On the other hand, if a raindrop passes through a very cold layer of air, they freeze into hailstones as they come down. Okay, so hailstones, that is a snow rainfall. In winter, when the temperature falls after sunset, water vapor condenses near the ground. The droplets hanging in the air form what we call fog. So have you heard about the fog in the winter seasons? If you wake up at the early morning, 4 o'clock, 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. most probably at 5 a.m. okay, if you go out in the winter season, deep winter season, if you go out, no, at that time you will see the fogs, okay, the droplets, okay, the droplets are falling from the leaf, okay, though it has not rained also, the water droplets are falling from the leaves, okay, you will find out, okay, and these are all the fogs, and you can see very hazy, okay, very hazy things, you cannot see properly the other distant areas, okay, you will see very haziness, okay, so because of the fog, okay, because of the winter season, the water vapor condensed and it forms as a fog, okay. So measuring rain and humidity. How can we measure rain and humidity? Rainfall is generally measured in millimeters with the help of rain gauge. So rainfall is always measured in millimeters with the help of an instrument called rain gauge. Okay. So a simple rain gauge is graduated cylinder with a collector fitted on a top. Okay. So the collector is fitted on the top in a graduated cylinder. Okay. A graduated cylinder is a jar with a marking on its wall to measure the volume of a liquid. Okay, so graduated cylinder is a jar, it has a marking, okay, scale, like scale, in a scale we are having marks, no, 1 centimeter, 2 centimeter, the same way in a millimeters we are marking is having, which collects will measure the volume of a liquid, which measures the volume of a liquid. You can make your own rain gauge by tapping a scale to a jar and fitting a funnel. Okay, so we can make our own rain gauge tapping a scale on the jar and fitting a small mouth funnel on the top of a jar, so that we can measure the volume of a liquid. Relative humidity is measured with the help of hygrometer. Hygrometer is an instrument which is used to measure air or liquid. Okay, so instrument humidity, measurement of humidity can be done by the machine is called hygrometer. A simple hygrometer consists of two thermometers. The bulb of one of the thermometer is wet. So a simple hygrometer consists of two thermometers. One side of the bulb will be wet. Since evaporation causes cooling, the wet bulb thermometer records a lower reading than the dry bulb thermometer. So what happens? The evaporation causes the feeling. Okay, so the wet bulb measures records the lower reading. Okay, compared to the dry bulb thermometer. The difference between the two reading is used to calculate the relative humidity. The difference between the dry bulb and the wet bulb reading is used for calculating the relative humidity. Naturally, when the relative humidity is low, there will be more evaporation and difference between two reading will be higher. Whenever the relative humidity is low, so there will be more evaporation. The evaporation will be more and more, and the difference between the two reading will be higher. Okay, so now climate. The climate of a place is its average weather pattern. As I already said in the beginning, climate means the short weather conditions, the short atmospheric condition of a day. Okay, and weather is a long term conditions. Okay, we cannot predict whether the weather will be changed within a day or within a 2 or within a 4 days or within a 5 days. Okay, suppose it is going to rain. It is going to rain in the month of August. Okay, so we cannot say whether it will rain for 1 day, 2 day or 3 day or 4 days. Okay, whatever. But climate is particular 24 hours day. Okay, so in a 24 hours day, the measurement of atmospheric condition in a 24 hours. Okay, so that is said to be as climate is a short weather condition, short atmospheric condition. Major factor that determines the climate of a place is latitude. Latitude determines the climate of a place, not the weather. Okay, so weather is not determined by the latitude. Broadly speaking, there are three temperature zones in the world. So there are three temperature zones. The region around the equator heated by the direct ray of the sun is the hot or torrid zone. So there are three temperature zone. Equator. Okay, so this is we are having a globe. Okay, so in the middle, for example, this is a globe and this is an equator. Okay, so middle line, an imaginary line. Okay, so this is the equator. So this region is hotter compared to both the sides. Okay, so the equator is hotter compared to the other regions of the that is said to be as a torrid zone. Okay, the zone is said to be as torrid zone. The region around the North Pole and the South Pole where the rays of the sun slant the most, and the cold or frigid zones. The region in between are temperate zones. Okay, so equator is an imaginary line. In this side, what happens in equator? What happens? The sun rays falls directly. So because of the direct fall of sun rays, this region is very high in temperature. Okay, so this region is very warm compared to the north zone and the south zone. Okay, so because north zone, in the north zone and the south zone, what happens? The sun rays fall slantingly. Okay, not directly. Okay, that is the reason compared to north and south zone, equator remains warmer. Okay. However, the climate of a place does not depend on its latitude alone. So, climate of a place cannot be determined only by its latitude. For instance, though India has a warm tropical climate, by the large and the mountains have a very cold climate. In general, temperature falls by about 1 degree Fahrenheit with every rise of 300 feet above the sea level. Okay, so when you rise up, okay, so every 1 degree Fahrenheit falls from sea level to, if you rise up to 300 feet, no, 1 degree. So in a sea level, if you find out 92 degree Fahrenheit or 92 degree Fahrenheit, if you rise up to 300 feet, okay, above the sea level, 1 degree will fall down. Again from 300, 1 degree will fall down. As you go higher, no, so at the temperature falls down. Okay, so Indian climates in the hilly areas, it remains quite cool and very nice. In the deserts or in the landy areas, compared to the hilly areas, it is quite warm. Okay. So another thing that determines the climate of a place is its closeness to the sea. So the area which is very close to the sea, okay, so that also determines the climate of a area. Climate of a area. Places close to the sea have a more moderate climate. Okay, the places which are the area which is close to the sea have a moderate climate compared to the places which are present far away from the seas. They are having extreme climate. Extreme climate means like suddenly weather changes. Okay, suddenly rain falls and suddenly all these things, a warm comes. Okay, it is an extreme climate compared to the modern moderate climate. Okay, so extreme hotness, extreme coldness. Okay, compared to moderate one, the places which are near the sea level, it gets the moderate climate, and the places which are far away from the seaside, it gets the extreme climate. This is because land absorbs the radiance heat much faster than the sea does. Okay, so land absorbs the heat, okay, radiant heat faster than the seasides. Rainfall, the other hand, important thing that defines the climate of a region. Rainfall also defines the climate of a region, depends on several factors like winds, closeness to the sea, and the presence of mountains. Closeness to the sea, presence of mountains, winds, all determines the climate. Okay, the wind in general, winds blowing in from the sea brings rainfall, while winds blowing out from the land are dry. Thus, the wind that blow into India from the Arabian Sea and Bay of Bengal during the monsoon bring rainfall. On the other hand, the winds that blow over northern India from the landmass north to its winter and dry. The winds that blow into India from the Arabian Sea and the Bay of Bengal during the monsoon season, the winds which blows during the monsoon season from the Arabian to Bay of Bengal, okay, that brings rainfall. Okay, and the winds which is blowing in a in the other hand, we can say the winds which is blowing in a deserts areas, okay, the far away, the area which is far away from the seaside brings only the dry, okay, so dryness in the atmosphere. Okay, so it doesn't bring any rainfall. Mountains are good at the mountain also grabs the rain. Mountains are good at trapping the rain. Okay, so mountain traps the rain. Okay, when moisture laden winds meet a range of mountains, when the moisture meets, okay, when the moisture laden meets the meets mountain, okay, so at that time what happens, they get pushed up. Okay, so they get pushed up. So as they climb, they cool and moisture condenses to bring. Okay, so when it gets pushed up, no, at that time it condenses. Okay, so after condensing, obviously the vapors, the water vapors, the humidity, water vapors which got condensed. Okay, so it becomes heavier and it cannot stay. Okay, it cannot stay on the upper atmosphere. So through a droplet, water droplet, it falls on the earth. When the wind finally crosses the other side of the mountains, they do not have enough moisture to bring rainfall. This is why Mumbai, which is on the windward side, okay, of the Western Ghats. So Mumbai is on the windward side of the Western Ghats, gets a lot of rainfall. Okay, so lot of rainfall. Mumbai gets a lot of rainfall because it is present windward side, okay, of the Western Ghats, while Pune, which is on the leeward side, does not get much rainfall. Leeward side means the area which is far away from the mountain side. Okay, so the area which is far away from the mountain side, other side of the mountain, okay, does not get much rainfall compared to the areas which is near to the mountain areas. So there is a lot more of climate than what we just here we have discussed. There is lots and lots deeper about the climate you will find out in your higher classes. Okay, so now, however, knowing this much will help explore next topic. So now, vegetation and climate. So if you look, you will get an idea how the broad climate zones and the vegetations within those determine the vegetations of a region. Vegetations of a region is also determined based on the areas. Okay, so based on how the rainfall is determined on the base of the areas, whether the area is near the seaside, whether the area is near the mountain side, whether the area is away from the mountain side. Okay, the vegetation also determines. The vegetation also can be determined. Equatorial, the region around the equator where the climate is hot, the region around the equator, equator region, as I told that the climate of an equator side of the equator region is very hot, okay, and wet throughout the year. It remains hot and wet throughout the year, has the greatest variety of plants. Equator regions, okay, contains greatest variety and greatest types of plants. Different kinds, different varieties and different types of plants can be found on the region of equator. The trees of luxuriant rainforest of this belt are evergreen. Luxuriant means a huge, a large, okay, dense forest, okay, so can be found in the equator region. This is because there is never any shortage of water. Equator region doesn't contain any shortage of water. These forests have layers of vegetation. The leaves of the tallest tree get maximum sunlight. So the leaves of the tallest tree in the equator region have maximum sunlight. They get maximum sunlight because the tall tree, okay, so the tall tree gets more sunlight, okay, so more sunlight on it, okay. So after that the short tree will get limited sunlight, and after that the herbs and grasses will get lesser sunlight compared to the tall one. Tropical north and the south of the equatorial region are the tropical belts in which India falls. Broadly speaking, this is a warm region with hot summer. So tropical north and south of the equator are quite warm, okay, in the summer, and cool winter and distinct rainy season. The vegetation varies with the amount of rainfall. So vegetations of that particular area varies with the amount of rainfall. Depending upon the rainfall, depending upon the amount of rainfall, the vegetation varies, okay. Vegetation means the groups of plants are grown in a particular area, okay, forest, okay, so that is called as vegetations, okay. Region of very heavy rainy season, very heavy rainfall have broad-leaved evergreen trees. Regions with moderate to heavy rainfall have tropical deciduous trees, okay. So here moderate to heavy rainfall areas will have tropical deciduous trees. Deciduous trees shed their leaves in a season, especially in autumn. Before the autumn it sheds its trees, and the new leaves will comes out, okay, it sheds its leaves and new leaves comes out, okay. That is said to be as deciduous trees. That with the in a particular season it sheds its leaves, and again again the leaves grows, okay, in a new form. Okay, regions away from the sea, they do not get too much of rainfall. Okay, the regions which are away from the sea, they don't get much rainfall compared to the region which is near to the sea, have grasses, shrubs and some hardy trees which can do with less water. Though we have distinguished between equatorial and tropical forest, usually forest in the entire belt between the tropics are called tropical forest. The forest in the tropic region are said to be as tropical forest. They are classified into rainforest also. They are classified into dry forest. They are classified into grassland, mangroves. Mangroves are the coastal forest, you can say. Desert, arid or desert regions. In the region of desert, okay, so they have sparse vegetations. They are consisting of cacti and other xerophytes. Cacti and other xerophytes are, xerophyte is a plant which have adapted itself to cope up with the heat, high heat and light, okay, and shortage of water. In the shortage of water, cactus, have you heard about the name of cactus, which is grown in particularly in desert where there is no water, the climate is very high, the climate is very warm, okay, less water, presence of less water. So that plant has adapted itself to grow in that kind of, in warm kind of environmental condition. The leaves has been modified into a spine so that it doesn't lose, it doesn't evaporate excess of water from it, okay. The waxy coating of hairs on the leaves and the shrunken stomata are some other ways of coping with hot, dry climate. So waxy coating will be there in the plants of a desert, in the plants of a desert plants. Okay, they'll be having as leaves are modified into spines. Waxy coating will be there, and stomata, shrunken stomata, stomata. The stomata means like small pores which we can find under the leaves. Okay, small holes which evaporates the water from the tree. Okay, so that is very shrunken. Okay, so that is very shrinken. So the water vapor, so the water doesn't evaporate, okay, in that hot climate condition. So cacti is one of the, that is cactus. Cactus is a desert plant, okay, which adapted itself to grow in a desert area. So temperature, even in the tropic mountain vegetations is of cool temperature type. The evergreen trees that characterize this type of vegetations are adapted to cope up with the cold. Even in the tropic region, mountain vegetation is of cold temperature. Okay, so mountain areas remain slight colder compared to the desert areas. Okay, so even there is a cold temperature. The evergreen trees that the characters of an evergreen trees type of vegetations are adapted to cope with the cold climate. That vegetation adapts with the cold climate, and vegetation, the plant has adapted itself for its surroundings. Okay, so according to the surroundings, their conical shape helps the snow slide off, and their needle like leaves reduce water loss through transpirations. They are evergreen because this region of weak sunlight and limited water supply costs less energy to retain leaves than to shed leaves and grow them again. Okay, so the plants which are growing near the temperate, temperate zone, okay, in the hilly areas, okay, in a cold temperature, what happens, they don't get proper water. Okay, so water intake of water is less in that particular area. At that time, what happens, transpiration gets limited. Okay, so there leaves are made in such way that transpiration doesn't happen often. Okay, it doesn't lose its water very easily. Okay, so that it can store its water for the survival. Okay, so and it doesn't shed. It is said to be an evergreen. It does not shed their leaves. Okay, leaves like an like you can say deciduous trees. Okay, doesn't shed their leaves. Okay, very often it doesn't shed their leaves to conserve, to reduce the transpiration rate. In warm temperature regions, the vegetation varies from magnificent broad-leaved deciduous trees to grass. Grasses can cope with dry climate far better than trees can. Okay, so grasses can adapt itself in a dry climate compared to the tree. Polar, only mosses in the polar region, that is a cold climate. Okay, only mosses and short-lived flowering plants grow in snow-capped heights of mountains and the polar regions. Okay, polar regions is cold. Okay, so in colder regions, what happens in the extreme colder regions or colder regions, only mosses and short-lived flowering plants are grown. Mosses have the advantage of being able to cope with long dry spells and coming to life when water is available. So mosses have the ability to grow in a dry spells, and it comes up with a life when it get water. Okay, so when it doesn't get water, it becomes dull, and when it gets water, it becomes very lively and fresh. Okay, so that is the adaptation of a cold area plants. Okay, the cold area plants had adapted itself according to the cold climate, okay, to survive in a cold climate. How animals adapt? Till now we have seen the adaptations of plant. Okay, adaptation means fitting ourselves in that particular environment, or to adjust ourselves to, or to cope up ourselves with that particular environment. Now plants, now it's for animals. How animals cope up, how animals fit themselves in certain environment, how animals protect themselves in the certain environment. Okay, animals are adapted in different ways to cope with the conditions of temperatures, light and moisture. The availability of food in the region where they live. Animals are adapted for various things. Okay, the availability of the food also determines the adaptation of an animal. The availability of a climatic condition of an environment also determines the adaptation of an animal. Okay, so cold climate, animals living in polar regions. In a cold climate, those animals who are living in a polar regions like penguin, then penguin we can say, then minks, bears. Okay, so bears, polar bears. Okay, they have a very thick furs. Okay, they have a very thick furs which protects them from the cold. Okay, so not only that, under the skin they have a huge fat, okay, stored under the skin, okay, which also protects them from, which gives them heat and protects them from the cold. Okay, so protects them from the severe cold. Okay, so penguins doesn't need any wings. Okay, so they no need to fly, because they are getting their prey, they are getting their food as a fish in the polar regions, in the region nearby their areas also. While in white polar bears, their furs are white in color, so that they can blend according to their surroundings. Okay, so polar regions is full of ice. Okay, very cold white color, so that they can protect themselves from their animals. So when they blend when their color matches with the environment, they mix up with they blend with the environment, at that time it is very difficult to find. Okay, it is very difficult to hunt them. Okay, so because the same color, you cannot identify the prey, the enemies cannot identify which one it's prey. Okay, so these are all the adaptations to protect themselves. Animals protect themselves, okay, by adapting. Whales, seals, penguins and polar bears have a very thick layer of fat under their skins. This protects them from the cold and acts as a store of food in winter. So not only this, hibernation and migration, this is also one kind of adaptation. Migration means transport of traveling from one place to another. Birds, have you some birds are there during winter seasons, okay, like hedgehogs. Okay, so during winter season, some birds, what they do, they travel to avoid the climatic conditions of winter. Okay, they travel from winter to summer, summer areas, from winter to from cold to warm areas, to avoid that climatic conditions. Okay, that is called migrations, to survive. Okay, and hibernation means sleeping stage. Okay, so to avoid, for example, in a winter season, some animals doesn't come out from their like you can say burrows. Okay, they don't come out from their burrows like hedgehogs, bats and squirrels live in temperate zone of rocks. Okay, they sleep, they take food for 4 to 5 months. Okay, so in a summer season, to avoid the summer season, they gather the food, they keep inside the burrow, or they take the food, okay, they store inside their body, okay, for next 5 to 6 months. Okay, next 5 to 6 months or 3 to 4 months, to avoid the winter season, so that in that particular winter season they no need to come outside for looking for a prey. Okay, so looking for a food. Okay, and they sleep at that time. Okay, in that is called hibernation. Okay, so that is called hibernation period. Many other animals like insects and fish also migrate. Fish and insects also migrate, not only bird. Okay, the Siberian crane, for example, used to migrate to India until very recently. Okay, so Siberian crane also, that's one kind of a bird, Siberian crane, which migrates to avoid a particular conditions. Tropical forest. In the dense rain forest, the adaptations are related mostly to the competition of food. Okay, so in the tropical forest, okay, in a dense forest, okay, adaptation is adaptation happens due to the according to the competition, according to the availability of the food, you can say. So competition of food. So there is a question like, so dense forest, a huge area, so there must be a huge number of food. Okay, so huge number of food, but the huge number of consumers are also there. Okay, so huge number of food is there and the huge number of consumers are also there. You may wonder, but if there is a plenty of food, there are also plenty of consumers. So the animals confine themselves to defined layers of forest. So animals, according to the availability of the food, animals confine themselves in the layers of forest. Some stay at the top layer of the forest, like monkeys, you can say, because they can jump from one plant to the another plant for a search of a food. There's no need of coming down. Okay, they eat the fruits of a plant. Okay, so no need of coming down on the other layer of the, they can cling from one tree, another tree, and again another tree, and they can find their food. They have developed a great ability to swing from tree to tree with the help of a long strong arms and the muscular tails, and they can grasp branches. The middle layer of the short trees has its own population of birds, insects, snakes and lizards. The middle layer, the topper layer, you can see monkeys, snakes, lizards will be there on the topper layer. On the middle layer, you can see the birds are there. According to the availability of the food, birds are there. Then insects, snakes, lizards are also there. Among the bigger animals that live in this layer, among the bigger animals, jaguar lives in the middle layer of the forest. Okay. Gorillas, bears and other clumsy animals that cannot climb like on the forest floor. There are snakes, insects, lizards and small mammals too. Some snakes, some lizards and some animals like gorilla, they cannot climb on the climb on the trees like a monkey. They cannot jump from one tree to another tree very easily like a monkey. Okay, so like a monkey or like another snake which can climb, tree snake which can climb very easily. So these are all that lays on the, that clumsy animals are on the third layer. They live on the third layer. Okay, so the tropical grassland, the browsers or grazers have different food habits to avoid competition. They generally have long legs because they need to cover great distance to look for a food and water. Okay, so the animals which are living at the last bottom of the forest. Okay, so bottom of the forest, what they have generally a long leg. Okay, so that they can go for a search of food. They can go for a search of food to eat. Long hairs. Many tropical animals have special adaptation to cope with the heat. Let us look an elephant. Okay, particularly. So many tropical forests, they have adapted themselves to suit themselves in an environment. Okay, so to cope up with the environment, cope up with the heat. Okay, so like elephants, you can say elephants are having a long trunk. Okay, so what happens, that is a modification of lips. Okay, so there is a modification of their lips, and their elephants are very good swimmers. Okay, they can dip inside the water for a long time to make their body cool. Okay, so that is their adaptations to avoid warmth. It helps them breathe even while they are swimming or walking underwater. It also helps them uproot grasses, and the trunk helps them to uproot the grasses. Okay, and take it and put it into the mouth, eating, but also push their ways through forest. The tiger is an attractive inhabitant of tropical forest. The tiger is quite attractive inhabitant which is living in the forest, unlike its Siberian cousins which have a thick, shruggy, okay, thick and tight coat. Okay, the tropical tiger has a coat of very short. Okay, the tropical tiger, the tiger which are present in the tropical forest, okay, tropical areas, have a very thick and very close, very tight fur. Okay, so it can hide, it have a stripes on its body, okay, so brownish color stripes, so that it can hide among the trees. Okay, so the hunting, so the tiger's enemy cannot find, gets confused between the tiger and the trees. Okay, this type of pattern on the body is called disruptive coloration. So the striped pattern which is found on the which is found on the tiger of the tropical forest. Okay, so that is said to be as disruptive coloration. It breaks up the shape of the body visually and confuses the prey or predators. Okay, so it makes confusions. Okay, it makes confusion for a predator that whether it is my prey or something else. Okay, so because it blends with the surroundings of the forest. Okay, so because of its brownish color stripe. Okay, so now desert areas. So desert areas, desert animals, the famous animals, you can say camel. Okay, so camel have a very long leg, and to avoid, camel have a very long leg which keeps their body upper from the sand. Okay, which protects their body from the heat of the sand. Not only that, camels have eyelashes. They are having a very long eyelashes which prevents their eyes from the sand also. Okay, so that camel in the desert areas, we know very well that desert areas the scarcity of water and food always. Okay, so at that time what happens, the camels at a one go they drink water, and it can survive for a few days without taking any water or without taking any food. Once the camel has taken the water or food, it has stored inside its body, and it can be used for a long time. So these are all the adaptations which animal makes according to their environment. Salamander and tortoises go in a summer sleep to cope with the heat. Okay, the salamander and tortoise, they go for a summer sleep. Okay, so in the summer season, what they do in the winter seasons, they eat all the food which is necessary for them. Okay, at the end of the summer, at the end of the winter season, they go for a deep sleep for the summer to avoid the summer season. So this kind of adaptations are done by plants and animals to protect themselves or to survive in the environment. Okay, so survive in the environment. If you have any doubt regarding this chapter, you can contact me at night. Thank you.